Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking. This is Omen. So, I remember somebody once told me, another reviewer once told me that whenever they told like a long story during their video, or they like reminisced about things, or just was a longer video, they referred to it as a Lance video, and I took that as a point of pride. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of a Lance video here. I do apologize. So, you can definitely skip ahead if you don't want to hear a quick little story, but it's me, so it probably won't be quick. But anyway, regardless, so Omen, wow. Omen is a game that was designed, as you can see, by John Cloudis, and it was a game that was like almost like a dirty little secret, and I mean that in a really, really praising way. Back in the day when I was younger and I didn't have two kids and I didn't have the life that I have now, I had a lot more free time. I guess would be the best way to say it. And the thing is that even when I became a dad and had my two kids, or just the one kid, I still had more free time, because as kids get older, they start getting involved in more things, and you're just kind of more involved in that life, right? And I remember I used to spend like hours like on Board Game Geek and other websites, and just with other people, just discussing board games and talking about board games. And there were all kinds of people that like were regular posters on Board Game Geek back in the day, as it were, that we would have discussions about different games that we thought were, like diamonds in the rough, so to speak. And like that is how like I found out about games like Biblios, or like actually it was called Scripts and Scribes, which I still have a copy of Scripts and Scribes somewhere, and stuff like and other games like that just like nobody really knew about, but he just found. So I don't remember who it was. I can picture their avatar and I can't remember their name, but I remember somebody had just said, I checked out this game called Omen, and it's like this 2-player game, and I'm just blown away. It's so good. And I wasn't a big 2-player game player back then. Now I mostly play games 2-player because I play against my daughter. But back then I didn't have time for 2-player games. When we played board games, there'd be 4, 5, 6 of us together, and we'd play something large and epic. But I did have a couple of people that were my go-to 2-player gamers, if you will. And one guy by the name of Andrew, and another guy by the name of Derek. And like lifelong friends, I've known them forever. And so under that person's suggestion, saying that Omen was really fantastic, they said, you gotta check this out, you gotta play it. So I got it, put it in, like found it online somewhere, probably through Thoughthammer or Boards and Bits, a company that no longer exists anymore. Got it in my box of games back when you could buy like $100 or $125 worth of games, get free shipping, and there was like a good number of games in the boxes, whereas now it's like 2 or 3. And I remember I got it, and I was looking for it the other day. I'm remodeling my basement, so a lot of my stuff is in storage right now. But so it came in like one of those like longer boxes, like you're carrying like your magic deck or whatever, like that kind of a box kind of thing. And it came in that, and I remember the art was just really gritty. You can probably go on Board Game Geek and see the old art, but I really liked it. I mean, it was very it was almost like Sin City-esque in a way for me, if that makes sense. But it wasn't like like old. It wasn't like Frank Miller art, but it just kind of had that feel for me, where things were kind of like out of focus, and it just looked really, really violent in a not realistic way. Does that make sense? But anyway, check it out. You might understand where I'm going with that. And I remember I was just one of those random things where I had nothing going on. I called up my buddy Andrew and I said, hey, would you come over and play this game with me? I heard it's just freaking amazing. And so yeah, he came over and we played that game for like 4 hours. I mean, not because we couldn't figure it out. Like we played it and we said, let's play again. And then we played it, and we said, let's play again. And we kept on, it kept hitting the table, and we played it, like, I mean, and I started playing that game all the time. That was the game that was in my lunch bag when I went to work, back when I used to work in a financial business. It was something that I played against my friends at my job. It was something I brought to the local game store. So like when there was like on board game night, so when there was like when you get there late and everybody else is playing a big game, you find the other person who got there late and you sit there and you play that until something else opens up. It was something that, you know, I always wanted to play, and I absolutely loved it. So it has always been, in my opinion, like the best two-player game, or if not the best, it's like right there. I mean, maybe there's something that overtook it at some point, and then like just basically because probably I put Omen on the shelf, and I didn't like. I forgot that I had it, if that makes sense. Like you get so many games you forget, and then like I'd see it, and I'd say, "Oh my gosh!" and I'd take it down, and like my daughter and I would play, and we'd both just have a blast playing it, and we'd play it 2 or 3 times in a row, and then we. You know, and I'd be like, yeah, that's why I own Omen. So I can remember, actually, you know, full disclosure, Colossal Games, the guy who runs it, Travis Chance, former of Action Phase Games, and Indie Boards and Cards. You know, Travis is a friend. Travis is a really good friend. You know, and when he told me that he was going to reproduce this and remake this, I was just like, oh, you know, first I was like, oh, don't screw it up. But that's Travis, so I knew he wouldn't screw it up. And I was really excited with where they were going to go with it. I knew they were going to keep the core game. I knew they were going to do it. I'm sure they're going to just put a little bit of polish on it, because there were a few rough edges with Omen, but there wasn't really anything that grievous at all. And I knew that they're going to do it right. And so with this one, with the new art and the new looks and everything about it, I was super excited to do it. So I got this one, and I got the 2 expansions, the Edge of the Aegean and Fires in the East. I got both of these, and I played it, and they're fantastic. The game's fantastic. It's just as fantastic as it always was, and it will continue to be fantastic for a long, long time. So let me show you how to play Omen. It is so simple to play, but it has so many levels. Oh, it's so good. But anyway, let's go. I'll show you how to play Omen. Alright, so let's learn how to play Omen. Now, I have set this game up with the core box. I will talk a little bit about the expansions later on, but just keep that in mind as I'm showing you how this game is played. And I will talk about those expansions rather glowingly as well, so you can kind of look forward to that if you so desire. Alright, so each person is going to get the same 6 little, like, feat cards. Now, these cards are things like objectives that you have. You want to achieve these because, say, like, Athena's feat is that you have 1 soldier in each city, and if you can achieve that, you're going to get 2 victory points at the end of the game. You might be asking, what are the cities? The cities are these 3 piles here. These tiles, and I'm going to show you one even though normally you wouldn't see these. These tiles are rewards for winning battles in those areas. So like here's Hera's Trickery. And like it says, surge step, take a portent step, then continue with your surge step. Now that might mean nothing to you right now because you don't know what a surge step or a portent step is. But it just gives you an idea that these tiles will give you powers. Now notice that down here it says they're worth 2 victory points. So if you take one of these tiles, it's worth 2 victory points at the end of the game. If you use it for its power, and mind you, your opponent doesn't know what the power is, because you take this, you put it down in front of you. But when you use it for its power, you turn it over and you show it, now it's only going to be worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. So you could have all the powers in the world as far as, you know, getting those tiles, but you know, if you use them up, you're going to score less points, and maybe perhaps at the end of the game you won't score as many points as your opponent. Alright, you might have noticed this token I took off. You'll see that it says Peaceful on this side. Now on this side, it says War Torn. Now as I'm explaining the game, eventually what will happen with these cities is that there will be enough units in that city to basically start a fight, and then you'll resolve that fight. You show that there's going to be a fight by turning over the tile to show that it is war torn. All right, I'm jumping ahead a little bit around a few things, but just wanted to give you kind of an idea of what you're seeing here. Obviously, there's a giant deck of cards right there, and each player is going to start with 4 cards, as you see here, and 4 gold coins. Now, there is like a first player advantage. So, the very first phase of the game, which is called the wealth action or the wealth phase of the game, you get 3 wealth actions normally, but as the first player to begin the game, you only start with 2, but after that, it goes back to 3. All right, and also I should mention that you can kind of see them over there on the other side, and I just want to actually show them up close. There are really good reference cards that each person is going to get a set. It'll tell you exactly how to do the turn right there. It tells you exactly how the end of the game happens. The game ends at the end of the active player's turn if one of the 2 conditions are met. Either their opponent has 5 face down feat cards. Notice there's 6. So if your opponent has 5, or 2 or more cities have no remaining reward tiles. So, like, basically, there's 4 of those tiles each of the cities. If you get down to 0 in 2 of them, that will signal the end. Alright, so the game actually flows really easily, and I'll just show you actually the turn phase. So, you'll have the wealth step, then you go to the surge step, the portent step, then the feat step, the war step, and then the offering step. Alright, so, and then each one of those, and I'll explain each of those in turn. So I'm going to pretend that this isn't the first round of the game, and who knows? But it obviously wouldn't, because there'd be units out there. But just bear in mind, so I don't have to actually do the 2 wealth steps or 2 wealth actions during the wealth step. So you have cards, and I just I dealt these randomly. Cards have different aspects to them. Like they'll tell you what type of card it is. This one's a hero. This one's a spirit, an oracle, and a soldier. And there's a 5th card called a beast. I'll show you one of those here in just a little bit. But I might even draw one. Who knows? I don't know. Actually, I didn't set up the deck. But anyway, so the cards themselves, they will have a cost to deploy, which will be this number right there. They'll have a strength for when it goes into battle, which is listed right there. And then they'll have this, which is the offering value if you offer up the card to the gods as like a sacrifice. And then, like, depending upon the type of what unit it is, it'll have certain things. So it's a treasured. So if you have this card in your hand at the end of the game, it'll be worth extra victory points, something to keep in mind. But during your wealth step, you may discard this card, and if you do, gain 2 additional wealth actions. So it kind of has special ability. Let's just kind of move on here. So here's a spirit card. You'll notice it costs 2, and then 1, and then 3, and then has an invoke. Now, spirits are cool. Because you can, instead of, when you deploy them, they have these 2 abilities. So deploy, draw 1 card for each colossal unit you have deployed, or gain 1 coin for each colossal unit you have deployed. Now, colossal units, it's another keyword most commonly associated with beast cards, but just so you understand what I'm talking about there. Now, this invoke cost, so when you deploy it, you get to pick one of those 2 actions. But you can, instead, pay the invoke cost. Notice it's more than the deploy cost here. And then you discard the card, but you get both of the actions that are listed on that card. So spirits are kind of cool in that regard. Alright, oracles. So once again, you have the stats up there, and then it says portent step. Draw 2 cards or gain 2 coins. Reveal the top card of the deck. If an oracle is revealed, skip your offering step this turn. So when you deploy an oracle, during the portent step, for every oracle that you have out and deployed on the board, you will be able to do their action. And as far as their portent steps, in this case, you get to draw 2 cards or 2 coins. But it's possible that if you draw the top card, reveal it, and then discard it, if it is another oracle, you won't get to do that 1 step. So it just has certain abilities. Now here's a soldier. Soldiers are the most common cards. They're going to have the higher strengths, then, and so forth. And so, like, this one, it costs 4 to deploy. It's got 3 strength, and it's 3 for the sacrifice. And deploy, take up to 2 coins from an opponent. So, like, when you deploy it, here, give me that money. Awesome. So, and these are, and I'll show you some more cards here in just a little bit. But here's a nice little smattering of cards that you have. So on your turn, what you get to do is, during the wealth actions, you take 3 actions. You can either take a coin from the supply for a wealth action, or you can draw a card as a wealth action. If you do all of the same thing in 1 turn, meaning that you do all but draw cards, or all but take coins, as a bonus, you get an extra. So if I take 3 wealth actions to take coins, I'll get 4 coins. If I take 3 wealth actions to take cards, I'll get 4 cards. Please note that if it is the first turn of the game and as the first player, you can still get that bonus by taking your 2 actions. You take 2 coins, you get 3. Take 2 cards, you get 3. Alright, so I'm just going to draw cards just in the hopes that I can get a beast, and I can kind of show you what those are. So let's see. So we'll go we're going to go 4 cards, which is probably not the wisest decision here, but we'll see what we get here. So I did. I got a beast. Awesome. So here's a beast. You'll notice these guys are huge. They cost 4, got strength of 7, and colossal. So it is huge. And then enrage up to 3 units. When you when you can enrage, what happens when you enrage is you actually give other units like a colossal aspect to them. Now, what does colossal mean? Well, colossal means that normally you can only have 5 units in each city, but a colossal unit counts as 2 of those units, and it counts as 2 of those units across the board. So if there's ever any sort of parameter that relies on like the number of units it is considered to be 2. So keep that in mind with colossal units. So just out of curiosity, let's see what else I got here. I got a Brazen Slayer Soldier, I got a Regal Haunt, and a Grand Commander Soldier. So I didn't here's the cool part, reveal the top 3 cards of the deck, deploy 1 revealed soldier into this city at no cost. So if you played that one, if you got a soldier, you can deploy it again into the city. Pretty simple, but that's how you do the wealth step of the game. So now you can do the surge step, which is now when you're going to spend coins and deploy units from your hand. You also, this is when if you have any of these reward tiles that you've claimed, you can use one at this time, but you can only use 1. If you had 3 of them, you can only use 1. If you had 5 of them, you can only use 1. Doesn't matter. You can only use 1. And deploying is pretty simple. If you just wanted to, put this thunderous Cyclops out, you'd pay 4 coins and you'd put it at one of the locations of the cities. Maybe we're going to gamble. We're going to pay all of our money, right? Let's try this. We're going to pay all of our money, and we're going to put the Grand Commander down. And when we deploy him, it says reveal the top 3 cards of the deck. And then if we have if we get a soldier, we can deploy it at no cost. But we have to deploy it into this city. So let's see here. Oh, we did. We got a Shadow Stalker. Oh, we got 2. So we got this one where it says deploy. You may destroy an opposing oracle in this city, or you may return an opposing beast or oracle in the city to that opponent's hand. Well, we don't have either of those because it's the beginning, but this one's got strength 3. So let's just go ahead and we'll deploy that into that location. And then we'll take the other 2 cards and you'll put them in the discard pile. I should mention that the discard pile is available for anybody to look through at any time, and even though I have covered up, the other card, the other players can look at the other cards at any time, or whatever. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of speed ahead here a little bit, and I'm going to kind of make up situations so you can kind of see how the rest of this works. So if you had a Portent Step, you resolve the ability of each of your Oracle units at this time, so let's just pretend that I have an Oracle or 2 out there. So let's go ahead and place this Regal Haunt in this location, and remember that Soul Gazer we had. That's a Spirit. Whoops, that's not an Oracle. I think I only have 1 Oracle. Never mind. So we'll just go ahead and use our Soul Gazer. So it says draw 2 cards or gain 2 coins. Well, I don't have any money, so let's go ahead and gain 2 coins. So we have those for later on, and then we're going to draw one of these and make sure it's not an Oracle, and then we can do our offering step. It's a Spirit, so we don't have to do that. We're going to place that one over there. And so then we're going to move on to the feat step. So if I had managed to pull off any of these feats, so if I had managed to pull off having a soldier here, and let me just, once again, like I said, I'm kind of making the situation work for me. So I have a soldier here, a soldier here, and a soldier here. And Athena's feat is to have at least 1 soldier in each city. I can turn that over like so, and I can show that I've completed that feat, and I've got 2 victory points. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our war step. This resolves conflicts in any war-torn cities. Now remember, a city is war-torn if your opponent has 3 or more units in that city, or if like there is a total of 5 units in the city. Now that might sound a little weird, right? So it's like, why is it if my opponent has war torn? Well, that is basically the way it is that, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's just put like this spirit down here. So in this case, now we have our Grand Commander, this Shadow Stalker, and this Regal Haunt. And they're all in this. That's 3 units in that city. So what's that? That's telling my opponent over there that on his turn, we're going to fight over this city. He's going to turn over that token, and it's going to be a short war turn. So he's got to decide if he's going to go ahead and contest that with me. If he's got the right cards or anything. And remember, he can look. He can see I've got a total of 6 strength. So he's got to figure out a way to get 7 strength in that city, because on his turn, we're going to fight over that particular tile. So in this case, we don't have a war step because the other player doesn't have anything. And once again, remember, we're kind of just, this isn't exactly how the game would progress, but I'm just kind of doing this to show you how the game works. And then, on the offering step, you can go ahead and discard 1 unit of your hand and draw cards and or gain coins in any combination, up to the offering value that we have. So if I wanted to get rid of, if I didn't want this spirit anymore, I could get rid of it. I could discard, and maybe I'll take 2 coins, so I got some little extra money, and I'll draw 1 card and put that in my hand. And let's see what I got. I got the Chyme Tormentor. And I should mention right now that, like, all of the really cool, like, the cards in these games are just cool. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where, the artwork looks cool, the names are cool, the powers are cool, and that was one of the things that I just loved about it when I got my first edition copy of the game a long, long time ago. But here, here is the Chyme Tormentor. It has it's a spirit, and deploy enrage 1 of your units in any city, or enrage an opposing unit in any city. Now here's a good question. Why would you want to enrage an opponent in a city? Well, when you enrage somebody, remember, it becomes colossal, and a colossal unit counts as 2. So let's say my opponent, and I'm going to kind of cheat here, and I'm going to look at his cards and see what he's got. So let's just, take, see if he's got a couple. He got a soldier. Let's just put that one right there. Let me grab another soldier. So let's say he had these 2 soldiers. And he's got a total of 5 strength. But he's only got 2 units, right? But if I had that ability to enrage one of his units, and then you actually take this enrage token and put it on there, that is now considered 2 units, meaning that would be 3 units, meaning that when I decided that we were going to have this battle, I could force the battle to happen, knowing full well that I was going to win. And let's just do that. Just instead of going through the other turn in its entirety, let's say we did that process. And so we forced that battle to occur. So when that happens, we turn this over. And I should mention that multiple battles can occur. You can have a battle in every single one of these cities, but the person, when it's their war phase, they get to decide how those work. So here we have like, we've enraged this character, so they have a total of 3, and they have a power of 5. I have a power of 6, as I said, so I'm going to win that fight. So I get to take the top tile off the top of the, and we already know what this one is. As we said, it was Hero's Trickery, and we're going to take that. We're going to keep that, and hopefully maybe we'll never have to use it, and we can use it for the 2 victory points in the game. Otherwise, maybe there'll be a purpose to use it, but who knows? Now, what happens is that we have to, because there's a battle, and things get killed in battle. Me as the victor, I have to decrease the number of units I have in that city by down to 1 unit. So I can't actually keep a colossal or enraged unit at this point because of the fact that it counts as 2. So I would have to go ahead and, like, say we're just going to leave our Grand Commander. Well, actually, I'd probably leave the Shadow Stalker because he's got the most power. But, one thing is that, remember the deploy? You can, there's actions that will allow you to switch the different, your units from city to city. when that happens, they do get to do their deploy action again. So, perhaps I would want to do that because I'd get a free card. But, I do like the three strength and also return an opposing beast or oracle in the city if I deploy. So, they got good abilities as well. So now the other player, as the loser, has to decide they can leave up to 2 in the city. And this is kind of a double whammy for them because of the fact that since I've enraged this one, they could keep just this unit or this unit, because they can't keep both, because that would be a total of 3 in that spot. So, and, in this case, they'd probably get rid of their enraged one, and they'd leave their Centaur, because it has a strength of 3 that's located right there. So, so there's definitely, different, there's trickery and things that happen during the game, and you have to be always kind of aware of the different strategies and the different cards that other people are playing. All right, so as I said, and so then now I was done. Then the other player would go, and they do their thing, and you just kind of have this tug of war back and forth as you go. The coolest thing about this game, in my opinion, is the fact that you kind of get to force actions on other players, like I just showed you. It also has lots of cool ways different cards can work together, and the fact that a lot of times. You have cards that'll end up in your hand that a lot of times you won't really want to use because of the fact that, if they're a hero card, they're going to be worth points at the end of the game. And so there's stuff like that where you have little tough decisions that you have to make as you play. So, I just, like I said, I love this game back in the day, and I still love it even more. And this is kind of to be completely fair, I mean, the previous artwork in the game wasn't bad. It definitely was very evocative, but it wasn't really detailed, and it didn't really offer me a lot of immersion. But Colossal Games has really stepped it up with this one as far as the different artwork for the different cards, and the game looks absolutely beautiful. So, so you go back and forth, as I said, until 2 of the cities run out of these tiles, or one person has managed to flip over 5 of their feat cards. Then the game is over, and you're going to total up the victory points of each person. And remember, and a lot of times, the victory points are easy to tell, as far as, you have a pretty good idea of what the other players have. So the treasured cards that you have in your hand that the other player isn't aware of is a huge thing. So, you could think, oh, I'm winning by a point, but all of a sudden they show that they have 2 or 3 treasure cards in their hand. They have to get those bonus points, and they're going to pull off the win. So, just something to keep in mind that, yes, a lot of the victory points are open knowledge, but, your opponent can surprise you there at the very end. But the game is fantastic. It is one of the best 2-player games I've ever played, and it's probably my favorite 2-player game, in all honesty. I mean, it's one of those games that I forget that I own, and then I'll see it on my shelf. I'm like, I need to play more of Omen. Omen is so good. So let me talk more about that in my final thoughts, and also talk a little bit about the 2 expansions. There. Omen. Awesome. So, like I said, it doesn't have a ton of rules to it. It just has the different cards that allow you to kind of mess with things a little bit and switch things up. So, yes, the game has this marvelous structure. Boom, 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 boom. These are the things you're going to do in your turn. But it is up to you as the player to kind of use your cards and your abilities to kind of, just shift that stuff around a little bit, or really highlight certain phases and really do really well in certain things, and just use your cards to the best of your ability to get the maximum out of each one of your turns, and then hope your opponent does a worse job than you, and then but obviously you can mess with them, right? I mean, I showed you those cards. You're allowed to steal coins. You can make people take cards that they've deployed and put them back in their hand. You can force people to into conflict that they don't really want. There's all kinds of things like that that are going to happen, that are going to go on, and that's one of those things where I think stuff like that is more prevalent now. I mean, the heavy interaction of cards and kind of setting traps and forcing your opponent into certain actions or deeds that they don't really want to. I think I've run into that more and more in games now. But Omen, you gotta remember, this is an older game. It's been around for quite a while, and so in a lot of ways, in my opinion, Omen was kind of before its time, if you will, or at the very least, it was on the cutting edge at that point. And that's not to say the games that use these mechanisms now are like redundant or anything like that. They can still be good and they can still be awesome, but it is really cool to be one of those first games that really, you know, has that look and has that feel. And Omen definitely has all of that. So I mean, there's tons of things about it that are just awesome. Like I said, the artwork's really cool. But you know, this game could have stick figures on the cards or no art at all, and I'd still think the game was fantastic just because of the way it plays. It has lots of those moments where you feel clever, right? Like, and I think games kind of forget about that in a lot of ways. Different games obviously kind of depend upon that more, but I like games that make me feel smart. You know, there's something to be said about playing a really, really dense, like, economic Euro or something like that, where you're, like, kind of fighting with it and trying to figure out exactly what you're supposed to do to get your little engine going. And, like, you can kind of, like, you know, improve upon each play or whatever like that. But I don't really feel clever when I'm playing that. I feel exhausted when I get done playing that. However, with Omen, like, there's all kinds of little moments where you have certain cards that have good synergy with other cards, and then you get to place certain things down at the same time. If you can somehow manage to get, like, your feat card done, and, like, your 5th feat card done, and, like, forcing the other player, okay, I got my 5th one done, now you get this one last turn to try to get as many points as you possibly can. I'm in the lead right now, let's see you do it. That sort of thing. You know, and so it has little moments like that where you feel like you're, like, you figured it out. But then, of course, you know, your opponent adapts, it changes. Certain cards don't come out in a certain way that you wanted to the next time. And the way that you thought that you adapted and changed to play the game has changed on you, and now you've got to adapt and be a different player the next time you play. So, you know, it's just, it rewards repeated plays because of the fact that you kind of learn the cards, and you can kind of, like, you know, you get into different strategies and tactics. But again, because of the fact that, like, there's all these different actions that, like, go through the cards rather quickly. And I should mention also that if you know, you get a lot of these cards, but if this deck ever does run out, you just shuffle up the discard and you go for that and restart. So you don't, like, stop the game if the cards run out. But it's just one of those things where I feel just as brilliant, though, like the first time as I played it and I figured things out, as I did later in later plays, where I knew certain cards were there, I knew certain cards allowed me to do certain things, and I was able to go back on my past plays and build upon that knowledge and play. But also, I should say this, like, yes, the knowledge about what the deck has and everything like is always helpful, but, you know, I don't really feel like there's a ton of, like, veteran player bias in the game either. I do think that, you know, as long as the idea of, like, how the game runs, you know, as far as, like, the different phases and what you need to do to win, as far as the victory points. Because, I mean, like, again, like, you could be as clever as you want as far as getting cards out, but if you're not claiming victory points, you're not doing anything. And a lot of times I've done that when I played this game, and I'm like, oh, this card's cool, and this card's cool, and this card's cool, and I've totally forgotten about, wait a minute, I need to get these feat cards turned over. I need to claim these tiles. I need points, otherwise I'm going to lose the game. So there's just all kinds of things like that where, you know, it just, every single time I brought it to the table, it's just delighted me in some way, and I just it builds upon that delight each and every time. And this is a game that I played, I'm gonna guess 100 times. I mean, at least. It's one of those very few games in my collection that you know, I'm kind of glad I have this one because my original version is really beaten up. It's one of the games I actually had to sleeve because the cards were getting that worn out. I don't sleeve cards that often. So I did mention that I was going to talk about the expansions, and I've been kind of going on a little bit long here, and I do apologize for that. So, both The Fires in the East and The Edge of the Aegean. Two things. They can be played by themselves, and if you play them by themselves, it's a smaller game. You know, you don't have the feat cards, so you are just, you know, claiming the city tiles, that sort of thing. And I think, in all honesty, I think it's best when you mix these cards in with the deck and create a really epic game experience, which I think is the best way to play it. But you can, for like a shorter and more, like, I guess, refined experience, you could just play, you know, the cards and the tiles and whatever that are in this box and just do that. Now, they add a few different keywords and a few different abilities or whatever, but once again, those are very easy and very straightforward to figure out. You know, they aren't, you know, it doesn't, like, confuse, I guess. It does what I want expansions to do, which is, hey, I've said this before, I've said this many times, you know, you learn how to play a game, you play it a lot, you got it down pat, you got the rules down pat, and then here comes an expansion that said, okay, throw out all those rules, here's a brand new way to play, we're going to change everything. I don't like that. And I'm going to say that again, I don't like that. What I want is more stuff. I want more cards, I want more tiles, I want more, you know, I mean, add keywords, that's fine, whatever, who cares? Add different units or whatever to the game. Cool, super, awesome. But don't change the core of the game. And the core of Omen stays the same, but with these two expansions, all you're going to do is you're just going to add a bunch more cards, and you're going to add some different tiles, and you're just going to add some different ways that the game is played, and different ways that these different abilities and units can synergize with each other, which is all that's going to do is just add to the life of the game. It's going to add to the level. It's going to add to the depth. It's going to add to the enjoyment. It's going to add layers to that onion that you're peeling. And getting to, like, the meat and the wonderful core of the game that is Omen. So, I mean, I would never play without the expansions again, in all honesty, just because I think that because of all the added cool stuff, it's new ways for me to feel smart, and it's new ways for me to feel clever when I can combine these cards and abilities and what have you with those that are in this box as well. So, yeah, if you're a big-time Omen player from the past, this is a no-brainer. Pick this up. You're going to love this version. It is fantastic. You know, I'll never go back to my old version. I mean, and if you're worried if it's like, oh, is it just, you know, did you just slap some paint on, like, a brand new game? You know, no, it's like I said, it's been refined, it's been, like, it's got some polish on it, and you'll be very, very happy on it. If you've never played Omen before, why not? I mean, maybe you didn't know it existed, but you really need to, you owe it to yourself to play this. Even if you aren't a two-player game player, that's a bad sentence, but even if you're not a fan of two-player games, like, oh, I always have 4 people, this is something I really think you should play. I didn't think it was going to be that awesome either. I took a chance. I've been delighted with Omen ever since I picked up my first copy many, many years ago. So, you know, take a look at it, and I guarantee you aren't going to be disappointed. All right, so there you go. That's Omen. That's Omen's expansions. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. If you think I've missed like a fantastic 2-player game that you think I should check out, by all means, put it in the old comments and I'll respond to those if you will. And yeah, I really appreciate you, as I said, taking the time to watch the video. You have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.